What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Crime Center. Here we are with another reaction video. This one today, I believe, is kidnapping and some other stuff. The guy's pretty young. His girlfriend was pregnant at the time, and it's just pretty messed up. So let's go ahead and jump right into it and see what's going on.
Your last year on January 27th, at which time the defendant entered a written and oral plea of guilty to count 3 kidnapping, felony of the first degree. At that point in time, the court referred it for a pre-sentence report investigation, a victim impact statement, drug and alcohol evaluation, and psychological. Those have been completed, and we are here today for purposes of sentencing. The defendant is present with his counsel, Mr. Myron Watson.
Thank you. Mr. Watson, any reason not to go forward with sentencing?
No, Your Honor.
Is there anything you would like to say at this time on behalf of your client?
Yes, I would.
Good.
The lack of...
Okay, so first we're going to have the defendant's lawyer get up and say his part. And he's going to try to make his client look better than what the actual case made him look like. And then usually after that, we'll have the prosecution get up and probably shut all of that down, because their main job is just to put you in jail. They get that win, they get the W in that column. And that's usually how it goes. So let's see which lawyer's better, I guess. And then I guess it really depends on the details of the case. So
Mr. Karski's criminal history. He does show remorse, and he will allocute on that fact. You can see from the letters that are presented by family members and friends.
remorse for what he did, or remorseful that he got caught? If you really think about that, a lot of people who end up going to prison are only remorseful that they got caught.
They truly believe that this person generally has a good soul. I think what's also mitigating here, Judge, is you have Mr. Karski, who, for a difficult childhood and early drug use, and I mean...
So every time there's stuff like this, I don't care how many times you listen to court cases, there's always something about the childhood and drug use. Look at this. Out of all the things that I've ever done in my life, I've never once blamed my upbringing or drug use. Those are two things that don't matter when you become an adult. You make your own decisions. Stuff that you did when you were a kid is not an excuse for what you're doing now as an adult that can think for himself or herself. So when I hear that kind of stuff, it's just something that the defense usually uses to try to make it seem like he's only acting out because he was under the influence and somehow his childhood messed with his head, so now he's trying to do violence to everybody else. I don't know. It's never made any sense to me.
It was kind of shocking to know that his introduction into drugs was at a very tender age. He's tried to work and get over his addiction, but it's come with some hiccups and some missteps, which typically does happen for people who are chemically addicted to heroin and amphetamines.
Heroin is a bad drug.
And I think was mitigating your job.
To be 100% completely fair, heroin will make you do some things. I've never done it before. I've seen plenty of people who have, and I think it's one of the worst drugs. That it really messes with people. I'm not saying that that's the reason why, but I've seen people withdrawing from it. I've seen people on it do things they wouldn't normally do outside of that drug. So I guess we'll see.
Mr. Karski was in a long-term relationship with the complainant, in this case, the victim in this case. There was a very emotionally charged issue about them having a child and his level of participation in that with regard to that child. I think that is actually not...
Before I forget, this video that I'm reacting to is Courtroom Watch. Go and check them out. Give them a follow. They literally just post just the courtroom, what's going on in the courtroom. There's no commentary or anything to it. So I figured I would add my little commentary to it, my little 2 cents. But go ahead and give them a follow as well. And if you're not subscribed to me yet, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe. Hey, everybody's happy. Thanks for watching.
Dispute that the argument and the disagreement and the later actions on his part wrong, no doubt, but mitigated by the strong emotional situation that he really wanted to be involved with the child. And things spun out of control, and he was not thinking clearly because he was intoxicated, he was under the influence of drugs. That's not an excuse, and we're not using it as an excuse, but we're saying that based upon our contact with the complainant in this case, they feel like he's a good person, and that when our people interviewed the complainant in this case, they indicated that they wanted lenient treatment for him. That at some point when he's gotten his act together, to forge a relationship with his daughter. Mr. Pekarsky worked as a carpenter, worked very hard at it, he's very good at it, but he had a bad misstep here, Judge.
Yeah, he had a bad misstep. The one thing that I know is anytime somebody gets locked up or they're in a courtroom, all of a sudden they want to be a parent and they want to work because they love their job. 90% of people out here do not like their job. You get into that courtroom and you're in danger of going to prison, all of a sudden you want to be number one dad of the year and you want to work your butt off for the rest of your life.
Nothing to minimize that. If there's any suggestion in my sentencing memorandum that I didn't believe that this was serious, that's not the case. And he's always acknowledged that he felt that it was serious. He just, his overriding belief that he wanted to be a part of his child's life, wanted to be a part of a family relationship with the complainant in this case.
You should have done that to begin with.
The court will take in both the psychological report, which indicates that he was suffering from major depressive disorder, that he's had some mental issues going on that are currently being addressed, and we would hope that the court, with the proper programming and the proper
nobody wants to take care of their mental issues until it's too late.
Help him.
If you have a mental issue, go take care of it, man.
Eventually be able to re-enter into society. We're optimistic about that. His mom is here, his sister is here. They're rooting for him. They love him and they care about him because they know what the struggle has been for him. And I know that the state probably said that is not something that the court should give him great amount of weight to, but we will hope that the court will see its way clear that 9 years is a very long time for someone to be incarcerated. And I believe that Mr. Pekarsky wanted to address the court as well.
Yes, it is.
He has a right to address the court. And you do have that right, Mr. Pekarsky. You can say anything you want this court to consider before sentencing. Is there anything you'd like to say at this time?
So he'll get up, he'll say his little 2 cents, and see that it doesn't. I don't think it really matters what you say. The judge kind of already knows what he's going to do, and the defense and the prosecution going back and forth is just going to solidify what he thought he was going to do anyways.
Yes, Your Honor. I'd just like to say that I'm very sorry for what I've done. And I just hope that I can be forgiven and I can be in my child's life. And there's no excuse for what I've done. And I'm very sorry. I've had a lot of time to think about that. I'm sorry.
Okay.
State is recommending a prison term of 15 years, 6 years for the firearm specifications, and then 9 years on the underlying. Also, as I indicated in chambers, I want to place on the record that I take issue with what the sentencing memorandum says about the victim recanting. That is simply and absolutely 100% not true. She has been consistent from the day of, even in looking at her voluntary statement from June 11th of 2025 when this happened, and up until right before trial. Never once did she change her story. Yes, she felt bad for the defendant. She felt that maybe he had a mental break. She knew that this she might, since she was talking to him on the phone.
So I think the defense attorney is doing a little fib there. He's saying that the victim kind of didn't want him to get in trouble. The prosecution's saying that's a lie.
When I asked her about it, she said no, she wasn't talking to him. Even though I knew that it was her, and I knew that they were speaking on one of his old phones. So I want to clear that up because that's in incorporating the sentencing memorandum. It should be noted that that's not true. When looking at the pre-sentence report, one of the things that I found very lacking was the defendant said that he was just glad that he didn't hurt anybody. I guess he doesn't realize or can't grasp the extent of damage that he has done.
Yeah, he said he's glad he didn't hurt anybody, but I get exactly what she's saying. You did hurt somebody. You're just glad you didn't end up killing somebody. That's what you mean, because you did plenty of hurt.
The victim in this matter was so terrified that she ended up getting a protection order. And when you look at what happened that day, it started in the morning when she had been at his mother's house with him. She said she was going to look for an apartment. The defendant was mad about that and was not going to even let her leave the house that morning. When she finally did get a chance to leave, he followed her in his car, was swerving behind her, and she felt that they were going to get into an accident. Now, this is somebody who's saying that he wants to be in his child's life, but he knew full well at that point in time that she was pregnant.
Yeah, you want to be a father, but you're over here doing all this dangerous stuff where you could accidentally kill this woman without meaning to, and if something happens to her, your baby's gone because she's pregnant right now.
That he didn't seem to care about that. Shortly after, Nikki ended up pulling into American Electric, a parking lot there, and the defendant, you can see him and you can hear his tires are squealing, comes around, and he slams into the back of her car. She's on the phone with her mother when this happened, and her mother could hear that. He then takes off. She goes to the police department. She says, I don't want to file charges on that, but I want you to know. The defendant is told to leave her alone.
See, that's the thing with these victims. Like, I'm not trying to say it's your fault. Do not misinterpret what I'm going to say. But she should have pressed charges right then and there and had this guy locked up. She would have been a lot safer, and he would have probably got a lot less time than what he's looking at right now just by getting locked up for being stupid.
So after that, she's getting ready to go home, and she's on the highway, and the defendant is behind her, and then in front of her trying to brake check her, and she's on the phone with her mom. She's in a panic. Mom says, hey, let's go to the Ruin Road gas station. We'll go there, and maybe we can talk. The defendant follows her there. I don't think the defendant realized that her mother was there at first, and she says, just, leave this alone. Someone's going to get hurt. It gets to be 11 o'clock at night, the defendant shows up, pulls into the driveway. Victim sees that he is in the driveway. She comes out in her pajama pants, no shoes, no socks, no phone, basically in her pajamas. As she comes out to the truck, the defendant tells her to get into the truck. She says, no, I'm not going to get in. He then pulls a gun and says, get into the truck. She doesn't want to get in, and so he grabs her by the back of her hair and he throws her in the truck. Again, she's pregnant. He knows this.
She's pregnant and a firearm in the commission of a felony, because I'm pretty sure that's kidnapping, and that's not good.
They're driving around, and while they're driving around, he's yelling and screaming at her, saying, this will all be over soon. I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill myself. And she's terrified. So this has gone on from morning until late at night. He even takes her at one point in time down a road, Wood Road. That's actually where her sister had died as a result of a car accident. Drives her through that area. Still saying that he's going to kill her. And whether you believe what he says to the police, that at some point in time they're arguing and he stops the car, shoots the gun off, and it goes through the roof of the car. Or what she says is that he's so angry that he's slamming his hands on the steering wheel that he has the gun in his hand and it goes off.
He discharged it.
He
He's done.
tells her when they go to his house, they go back to his house. This is all the way from out near Madison Avenue, takes her all the way to Geneva, tells her don't do anything funny when she goes inside the house, gets her back into the car, and luckily he then takes her over to the gas station. When he goes over to the gas station, he has to go inside, and you can see on the video her, as soon as he goes inside and that door is closed to that gas station, she hightails out of that vehicle and she runs over, and luckily she's across from
that poor girl was scared out of her mind, man.
She is trying to open those doors, looking. And when I talked to her about it, I said, why did you keep looking back? She said the thing that scared her the most is that she was going to get shot in the back.
Well, that girl was terrified.
She then goes around to the back of the police department. She's banging on the doors there, and luckily one of the officers lets her in.
Were they closed or something? Why is the front door locked?
And then you see him on the videos driving past the police department, driving back and forth, looking for her, still even after that. Now, one of the officers from Geneva saw the truck, and so when she goes inside and describes the truck, one of the officers realizes he has just seen that. He goes and he ends up pulling the defendant over while he's pulling into where he lives. He ends up, he does have the gun in the car. I'm not sure at what point in time he unloaded the magazine of the firearm, but one of the reasons that we know the magazine was still in there for a period of time is not only did that one bullet go through the roof of the vehicle, but there was still one in the chamber. And although the magazine had been taken out and there were rounds all over the car, there was still one in the chamber, and unless he actually put that in himself, it fed from the magazine. The other thing that was interesting, and talking to the Geneva Police Department, they couldn't figure out why when they went up to the truck the first time, they could hear their voices and they could hear dispatch. The defendant had a second phone in his car, and he had this app called Broadcastify.
He was listening to him.
Listening to what the police were doing.
Oh, wow.
So when you look at all those factors and how long this incident occurred, and then the defendant saying no one was hurt, he clearly doesn't understand that emotional and physical are both injuries. So when you look at the facts and circumstances of this case, having 15 years and asking for 9 on the underlying, I don't think that's out of the realm of what's appropriate at all. The minimum would completely demean the seriousness of this offense. This is one of those situations where when we talk about kidnapping, sometimes it's the technical violation, the kidnapping. This is why the statute was written. And we would ask then that you give the 6 years on the underlying offense, and then 9 years, on 6 years on the firearm specifications, and then 9 years on the underlying offenses, however the court deems that would be appropriate. There is no merger. These are separate and distinct offenses.
The victim did suffer serious psychological harm, that the relationship with the victim facilitated the offense, and other relevant factors indicating the conduct is more serious is the fact that a firearm was used in this offense and actually was discharged.
So he's letting them know that he heard everything the prosecution said, and he's renaming it right before he smokes this guy.
And also the fact that the victim was pregnant in this case. Those are all factors.
That's the worst part. She was pregnant, and he had a gun.
Nothing makes it less serious. Therefore, will be the sentence of this court that on count 3, the defendant served an indefinite prison term of a minimum of 4 years, maximum of 6 years. On count 5, he served a prison term of 4 years. Prison terms will run concurrent with each other. However, both counts carry 3-year mandatory firearm specifications, and those will be imposed for each count to be served prior to and consecutive to each other, and consecutive to the indefinite prison term of 4 to 6 years for an aggregate indefinite prison term of a minimum of 10 years, maximum of 12 years.
All right, so that's what he got. The video's finished now, but he's gonna at least have to do 10 years, but he could do up to 12. So if he gets lucky, he'll get it out after 10. I mean, that's not really lucky. That's 10 years of your life. But if they want to be extra with it, then he could do those 2 more years. Either way, he's going to do about his whole sentence. He's not getting out any earlier than 10 years. And I feel like that's what he gets, that's what he deserves. He terrified that poor girl, pregnant, gun involved, listening to the cops, wrecking into her. This dude was out of control. It sounds like a mental break, but you have to have somebody on your side that when you feel you're about to lose it, you can call them, they could come and get you, and they can help you through it. People always want to do things by themselves, thinking they're strong enough to do anything, and a lot of people are not. And there's nothing wrong with that. The mental capacity of people is nothing to play with. Like, it doesn't make you weak that you need help to fix it. And I did 10 years in prison. And the reason why I even started this channel was to try to help at least just one person. If I could help just one person never go to prison, I've done my job and I'm satisfied. But hopefully, I can help a lot more than just one person. Keep y'all's nose clean. If you feel like you have mental conditions, get them fixed, talk to somebody, do something about it. If you're doing drugs, get help, get off of them. If you had a crappy upbringing from your parents, your childhood wasn't good, go get some counseling. Don't wait until it's too late and then you're using these excuses in court because as an adult, young adult, old adult, your life is your responsibility. Nothing that anybody did to you can ruin your life. You make your life what you want it to be. And I wish people would really see that and really take control of themselves and just live a better life. Stay out of trouble, don't do stupid crap. And I appreciate each and every one of you for watching. Let me know in the comments, do you think that he got too much time? Or do you think that he didn't get enough time? Let me know what you think about this whole case. And I'll catch y'all in the next one. Don't forget, hit the like, subscribe, notification bell so you can be notified when the new video comes out. I appreciate all y'all. And until next time, like always, stay tuned.